Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Milwaukie Poetry Series reading tonight. I am Tom Hogan, and thank you for being here. Standard time does make a difference, doesn't it, in terms of how dark it is, and when it gets dark and when it gets light. But thank you for being here. So we know that there are a lot of things that are demands on our time, and you're choosing to spend the evening here with us and with Carlos, hearing a great poet. So I want to welcome those people that are logged in on our live stream. So thank you very much for doing that. The same to you is that there are a lot of things that are demands on our time. So thank you for logging in and joining us tonight. We're going to have a reading with Carlos, which is going to go about 40 minutes. Then there will be a question and answer. So prepare your questions as we go along. And then Carlos is going to end the event with a final poem. So that's how we will proceed tonight. And I want to make several thanks. So it's appropriate to do that. And I want to thank, firstly, the city of Milwaukie, because we're in our 19th season, and they have been supportive of us from the beginning. So we owe a big debt to the city of Milwaukie, and it's very nice to see that kind of support from the city council and the mayor. Secondly, thank you to the Ledding Library. So we have been at the Ledding Library from the beginning. We're now here. This is the new. This building is 5 years old. I still kind of talk about it as if it's the new library, but it feels like the new library because at the old library, we were over at the Pond House, a little to the east, to my left, your right, and that was a lovely venue, but we needed more space. So we now have much more space. And this library, as you know, have you had a chance to walk through the library? If you haven't, it's a joy, but it fits the footprint a lot better. So it's one story, where the previous library was 2 stories. And so thanks to the Ledding Library. Finally, thirdly, thanks to the Milwaukie Poetry Series Committee. We do have a committee, and Kristen is here, and my lovely wife, Jane. So can we give the committee a hand? The two of us are standing, so as you know, you need to have a group working on something for it to happen. And finally, tonight, our tech person, we call him the magician. He's back here, Josh Reynolds. He is the one that is making it. He is the one that's making us look good and making it happen. So thank you, Josh. I want to say a couple of things about some events that are coming up. And we do have a flyer for the series, which is over here. Please take 1 or 2, especially if you have someplace that you think you could put it up. That would be just wonderful. Kristen is showing you what they are. We do have a broadside of one of Carlos's poems, and I think she's handed one out to everybody. So that is also something we do. I also want to have us welcome the Oregon Poet Laureate Emerita, who is sitting right down here to my right in the first row here, Pauline Peterson. Thank you for everything that you do and have contributed to the cultural life of us here. It's much appreciated. An event coming up, the next event coming up is this Sunday, and we have our fall reading. Our fall reading features Bill Siverley and Kathy Kane as the featured readers. Then we will have an open mic, and the event is here Sunday afternoon, 3 o'clock, 3 to 4:30 here. So hope you can join us. We will have it will be on Zoom as well. And I should say that these readings will be on the Ledding Library YouTube site. So it takes about a week, perhaps, to get this up, but they should be up about then. Well, I've been looking forward to this. I always love to hear Carlos read. Noted poet and translator, Carlos Reyes, is a 3-time finalist for the National Poetry Series. A is in This is the 17th volume. Recent choice from two pockets, poetry. The Empty Chairs of February, The Four Hinges of the World. His translations, Osage Elegy, Poems de l'amour, de la cura, Poems of Love and Madness. He is the author of a prose memoir, the selected translation, Keys to the World. Forthcoming poetry this year, Cottage, Stories from the West of Ireland Before, and The Blue Hour into the Journey's Eye, selected poems. Take a look at that. He's been a Yaddo Fellow, a fellow at the Fundació Valparaiso in Spain, at the Heinrich Ball College in Ireland, and at CAMAC, Center for the Arts, in France. He's been poet in residence at Joshua Tree National Park, the Sitka Island Institute in Sitka, Alaska, Acadia National Park, Devil's Tower National Monument. Those are all great places. And Catochin Park, National Park. He lives in Portland, Oregon, and he says, at the foot of Mount Tabor, a dormant volcano. I thought that word dormant, that just struck me as, that just stuck out when I read this. So would you join me in welcoming our poet tonight, Carlos Reyes. Carlos.
Well, this is a good mic. Thanks you all for coming, and thanks to the Milwaukie Poetry Series and the library. It occurs to me while Tom was talking, I used to live in this town. I'd forgotten that a long time ago, but yeah. Anyway, I'd like to thank you all for coming, and I'm going to, if I can do this, dedicate tonight's reading to Catherine Connolly, who was just a couple of days ago inaugurated as Ireland's president. Catherine Connolly. Oh, okay. I'm just floored to see all the happy faces out there. I'm gonna do something kind of odd too here, and in terms of dedications, I see someone in the audience, a neighbor. I won't say their name. I wouldn't want to embarrass them, but I don't know. Several years ago, he said, "I really like that poem." So here it is. Off Burnside. I follow the trail of empty, equally spaced drops, blood on the sidewalk for more than a block. At the end is not a man, but the chalk outline of where he fell. Ahead of me, a hopscotching girl goes by without touching the chalk lines. Right foot on the head, left foot on the heart. And I should say, too, that this Into the Journey's Eye, which I'm reading from, there's a lot of travel in here, and I'm kind of take you along on some of these places tonight, and not in any order or geographical order, but just where they come in the book. And this is called Dom Ludo Hod Carrier. Now, in this country, if you know anything about masonry, you know what a hod carrier is, right? The person that carries the mortar. Well, in India, it's likely it's not a woman. And it's likely it's not in a big something. It's in a, that sort of ubiquitous, I said it, bowl that you see in India. Dom Ludo Hod Carrier. In a bright red sari, she walks to the sand pile, fills her hod, ubiquitous shallow domed bowl, balances it perfectly on her head, walks poised like a model to the screen. But this one is an angled wire screen through which she tosses sand, sifting it clean. The way at home, she sifts wheat flour for lumps or weevils. She glances at the screen. Nothing is caught on the wire. The clean sand is a growing pile she mixes into mortar on the sidewalk. She works cement into the sand with a short hoe with the same diligence and grace she uses when she makes dough for chupates in her kitchen. And since I said something about Ireland, this poem is about the dispossession of people in the 1840s in Ireland, the evicted people, the evictees. It's called The Tenants of the World. We leave the house, kiss our fingers, touch the mezuzah at the right side of the door. During the evictions, the man of the house, before it was knocked, planted a kiss on the doorpost. Each passing family member kissed tips of fingers, traced the outline of the missing mezuzah. When the Irish peasant, his family and possessions were set out on the street, when Jewish families were taken from the shtetl, they must have known. Okay, this speaks to somebody said to me once, as a matter of fact, a very famous Irish poet said to me, "What the hell kind of an Irish name is Carlos?" And I said, "Well, what the hell kind of an Irish name is Eamon de Valera, the first president of Ireland?" Now, this poem attempts to get at possibly where my Irishness is, and that comes into effect. Sometimes people often say, "That's no kind of Irish name." Well, the other name I have too wasn't that Irish, but this is called Ballygowan. He hadn't a coin to flip. Well, I have to say first, a prati is a potato, okay? Some of you would know that. Ballygowan. He hadn't a coin to flip, but turned the flat pebble again and again, hoping to uncover the suggestion of a head. Damn the new king anyway, his hated name. In disgust, he sailed the thin stone, watched it arc into the wet wind over rock walls and firs. Ahead of him, the tang of the near sea as he walked out of his brogues, bare heels red to the weather, but hobnails kept shiny from traveling. He walked away, angles worn raw from turf and limestone dust from the town, imagined a spot along a track called Gowan's. He trudged on, sea sting in his nostrils, a steaming taste, a pinch of salt for a boiled prati, like the one he stole from the lazy bed too near the road, carried hidden like a plague bump beneath his coat. Hinch years on the other side, they asked him where he was from. Ireland, he mumbled into his chin. Where in Ireland? Begod, 'twas Ballygowan, the last name he remembered before he shipped, or else it wasn't. Well, this one takes place in France, and I don't know. To most people, I guess going to France is not a big deal, but I think going to France and writing a poem is a big deal. This is all about flags and looking out windows and looking at people. Kind of voyeurism that poets are afflicted with. The gray mansard roof. Windows look toward me the first day. From one hangs a French flag. I watch the window where daily the flags change. The second day's flag is exotic, New Zealand's Southern Cross. As my morning coffee cools each morning, as my morning cools, as my coffee cools each morning, I hope to see the flag draper begin to imagine hanging the flags, a beautiful Parisian. A face peeks from behind today's, the American flag. Then a white hand appears, then takes down the stars and stripes, replaces it with a white flag, shakes it out like a tablecloth. In return, I semaphore with a large white handkerchief. The white flag disappears. She replaces it with a star and crescent. I leave my post at the window, go down 7 flights of stairs to the Turkish Sidewalk Cafe, order a cafe au lait, pretend I'm reading American in Paris. It's titled Visible from the Street. I drape my white kerchief like a flag over the back of the table's only empty chair. This does not take place in Russia, and it's not written in Russia. It's called Chekhov's hammer. Behind the door of every heart stands someone with a hammer, beating out the rhythm on an anvil, reminding us only that the spring of blood keeps flowing into rivers of the body, at times silently, at other times with music, whether the heart is happy or not. Excuse me. This is water, not the, as they say in Ireland, the water of life, wish goodbye, but just water, just wish you. I like it. I think you guys like it. I'm just looking out trying to make sure that sometimes you look over at an audience and you kind of wonder what they're doing there, and they kind of wonder what you're doing there, and you're trying to get some sense of whether or not they're really listening, or they would rather be somewhere else, or they're watching a ball game or something. So I think, I'd like to say, I think looking over the audience, I think you like what you hear. And whether you do or not, it's okay. Alarm wakes him. He gropes for glasses to see time, staggers down steep, worn stairs. In the kitchen, finds the kettle, goes to the rush of fresh water from the spigot, plugs the kettle in to the next big river. He waits for water to boil, for day to begin. While he slept, a tea bag in his cup, like a paper moth, flew from Ireland. And lots of talk lately about aging. I can talk about aging if I want to, because I are one. But anyway, when in the mornings, I walk up around Mount Tabor, and again, my voyeurism, I see this man who sits out on the slope. He's there every day until he wasn't. Downhill from the park, a seasoned man sits in a folding chair at a folding table with a thermos open, a leather book to read or write in. A fraying straw hat surveys the timber hills that guard the ocean. One supposes a painter, but there's no easel in sight. The only color, a red Irish setter in the grass. Without warning, it leaps up, flees downhill to the flat below. A pileated woodpecker flies back to the nest, goes in to feed its restive brood. Over the past 5 years, I've watched the fir tree die, become a snag, watched the woodpecker carve a nest. At its door, saw tiny open beaks. I watched the elder too, as he persists, comes by each day, as the birds flash by, as shadows grow. I gave a reading the other day, and I tried to explain this poem, and I think I've come to the conclusion that I shouldn't try to explain my poems. And I could say I would leave that up to you, but you don't have to try to explain my poems either. Either they do or they don't, and go on to the next one. There's a lot of them. This is called Near Lorca in Spain. And Lorca, as many of you would know, is a famous 1927 Spanish poet. But it's also a little village along the Spanish coast. And the other image in here that's gone, I believe, from the Spanish countryside is the Guardia Civil. It's still there, but it doesn't wear a tri-cornered hat. It wears a little fatigue cap like an American soldier. They were particularly notorious and vicious and scary, if you know what they're all about. Anyway, too much. Near Lorca in Spain, in a shadowy night, two tricorns disguised as ravens atop two heads above two visages, four coals of eyes become the Guardia Civil suddenly watching our group of six. We sit at a table, our faces lit by a gas lantern, a bottle of rum. These ravens, let's call them, suspect insurrection those Franco nights, or more likely cigarette smuggling. The lantern, a signal to a boat offshore. If not, they want to know what we're doing here at midnight on the patio of the closed taberna whose owner gave up, left us with a bottle and the lamp hours ago. Two fishermen drinking with us mumbled nothing. I vouch for the rest of us, me, my partner, two tourists we met earlier and knew nothing about. In their innocence, they don't fear civil guards. We're here to finish this rum, I might say, but instead offer some of it. Pass a last pack of Swiss Marlboros. The guards refuse, wait wordless, hoping for a better offer. But I play dumb, all the time trying to read the silence in the fishermen's expressions. They study their hands, hide behind a story I fabricate. I like this poem about catching my pickpocket in Madrid, but I'm not going to read it. I like it too much. Instead, I'll just go on to Portugal. No, I won't. I'll go to Greece. And this poem actually takes place in a place called Santorini, which should be a wonderful place, but it's a terrible tourist mecca. And you go there expecting to hear traditional Greek music, and what do you get? Well, it used to be disco. God knows what it is anymore. Anyway, this is a little walk I took down the path from Milwaukie. To the seaward side of this mesa, our throats dry as the gaping, whispering fish, mouths of abandoned caves, we come to a small cistern. From a thread hangs a tin dipper, in English a note. On this island, our only hope on this island is rain. If you are thirsty, drink, but not too much, and do not pour your leftover water back into the well. Through dusty portholes behind a heavy door, inside the washed white Teatro Paschi chapel, a 7-day candle burns all the way to Easter. Back up a slope, a single red poppy bleeds a wound in the side of lonely Skaros. In about 1945, or thereabouts, I used to sell newspapers on a street corner. Pay 3 cents for them, you make 2 cents for every one you sell, okay? And I wrote this poem in Sitka, Alaska. It just happened to be, I was there, and on a Thursday, all the kids came out with the papers and went through all the places selling the papers. And it reminded me of everything that happened in my life in the 5th grade. Newsies. Every afternoon, a crowd of paper boys, heads together, punching each other's shoulders, comes down Sitka streets to hawk the Sentinel to passers-by, cars, shops. In 1945, I did the same in another city. Bought newspapers for 3 cents, sold them for 5 on the corner of the square. I fought for that corner, a spot gained through struggle, diligence, and time. With it came the rush hour dream. The motorist rolls down his window, hands me a bill. In a hurry to get home, says, keep the change. We made up headlines, catastrophes, tornado strikes Tulsa, hundreds dead. Anything to sell a paper. When the real headlines hit our world, war over, Enola Gray drops bombs on Hiroshima, nothing made up for could rival that. We stood speechless on our four corners of the world, saw our papers shredded into tornado of celebration, buried deep in our pockets, the copper heads of dead presidents. And we're still in Alaska. And I said something about poets having a habit of being kind of voyeurs and looking all the time, looking and looking for something. And sometimes I hate to say looking for a metaphor because that makes me sound literary in a way I'm not. But I had a little hike up in Alaska, and I bumped into a metaphor. Carbon footprint. Russians logged this slope on the skirt of Mount Versovia, made charcoal to heat their samovars. Later, they handed over their residue, vast domains they didn't own, to Americans from the south. Hiking the trail today, my boot kicks up a small square of charcoal. It is minuscule as historical detritus. Hemlock, spruce, and cedar grown up around the pit. The muskeg almost buries it as the Russians buried their dead in the shipwreck cemetery, left St. Michael's and a building or two. But here in New Archangel, there are no descendants. Oh. This is a poem about my middle sister. And people always get confused. Well, you wouldn't because you don't know the story, but I have two sisters. One died in a plane crash in Alaska, and the other one just died. But I like this. And this is all stems, again, from looking for something to write about. Sitka, Alaska is an amazing place, as many of you know. But the hummingbirds there were unbelievable. You know, hundreds of hummingbirds, and if you were too late getting out to refill the feeder, they would literally attack you. But this is what I got out of the hummingbird, one of the hummingbirds that came to visit me, an unexpected visit. And there's a little epigraph here that says, on the first week in April, the rufous hummingbird visits Thimbleberry Bay. Helen finally tracks me down on the same ocean, but far north. She comes visiting on a day of first sun, then rain, then sun. She's been here before, though east in Wrangell. All day she's tried to catch my attention as I sneak into the dining room and watch. I'm sure it's her, but I don't want to startle her. She's come 1,000 miles on tiny, rapid wings. How fast her heart is beating, and mine too. At last I recognize her. She's glad to see me. How much better for her this new life. Her other was often not happy, but she never lost her spirit. As her daughter was seeding her ashes into an icy coastal stream, she showed once again her will, refused the river, flew away with the west wind. Fast beating heart, winged sister, welcome. I put honey out for you. This time I'll try not to frighten you. If it rains and clears, I'll look for you at the window. You picked shadows. And this is, I spent, I don't know if it was 2 or 3 weeks or a month in a Yupik village north of the Alaskan Peninsula. And kind of nice getting to know the U-pick. They thought I was kind of curious, but a lot of people do, I guess. U-pick shadows. Some days in Alaska, there are no shadows. That is why in winter, the U-pick quietly walk through their villages, lanterns held high, calling, "Shamai, Shamai." The white man thinks it is only wind through the snowdrifts. It is the U-pick trying to convince the shadows to return. Oh, Shamai is hello. I learned 2 words in 3 weeks. One was Shamai, hello, and the other is Magoya, mosquito. This one is takes place in the Andes, right around Quito, on the way to Lake Huicocha. The woven wooden strands are suddenly taut across the road. Whoever drives it, this car is new, and the road dead ends goes only to the lake. They stop us, then quickly drop the weak line long since discarded as a tether for goats, thin cords spliced and knotted together, abandoned quipus that might as well be spider webs sparkling in last hopeful sun rays, the day disappearing in Andean mist. Those who line the road stop us. Their temporary barricade lasts long enough for them, their hands clasped in supplication, to reach out for the driver to roll down the window, offer a few sucres, a pitiful and optional toll. But not long enough for the wind and rain, our consciences to spite us. As long as though we expected, instead of gentle hands outstretched, bandits from behind eucalyptus trees swarming out the potholed road to surround us, we quickly roll up our window, shield against the cold afternoon, the faces, prayerful hands, upturned palms that hold no more than the bubble of the world. This is the street I live on, and I like what Emily Dickinson said about a poet's house as opposed to a prosist's house. A subbing up. On my dead-end street, they call my place the poet's house. In my view, like Dickinson, I dwell in the possibility that it is truly fairer than prose. I left out the house, sorry. Now, and this was a poem written during the pandemic, and when we were supposed to stay in, we were shut in, and we weren't supposed to go out. And I tried to just work this into kind of like a writing residency and just spend my time writing. So for at least 3 weeks or so, I got up each morning, had a couple cups of tea, went to my computer, and worked till around noon. Oh, you know, it lasted for a while. It lasted long enough to get at least a little book out of it, you know. This is called Now. Now we see how old gods walk behind new gods. A suitable distance. It's called social distancing now. The way things are, it no longer matters who is behind, who's ahead, but who is nearest. Something most democratic has invaded our lives, something more powerful than rank. It respects no other force, no other power the old, the new gods might have had. It swirls around the world, around us here at home, more powerful than Hurricane Atlas, but quieter. It barely whispers from the lungs its last breath, a ghost poised on my lips or yours, ready to jump. Okay. Now I'm going to read the poem could play at church here, and you could read along on your own little broadsides. Yeah, I guess I'm compelled to read this. Is that true?
Yeah.
Okay.
People would like that.
There you have it. Because I had a poem that has a better, more of a happy ending. Anyway, this is called Lights in Darkest Nights. And it stems from being out on the ocean, being lost on the ocean a little bit. A lot. Lights in darkest nights. You are far offshore in your wooden boat. That the light you're expecting is doubled, doesn't match the description on the chart. At 4 a.m., the frigid dark east wind leaves rime on the bow. Though things don't seem quite right, you keep heading north. That part of the equation you're almost sure of, because Polaris is not lost to you. You are somewhere on a thrashing Pacific coast pushed westward toward the idea of Japan. If you come about, aim for the double light. Before dawn, you will strike a long graphite line to starboard that begins to resolve into mouths of rivers, harbors, finally earthly dwellings, where some early riser lights a pitiful lamp you will not see. She looks west and sees a bobbing light still moving north. Rest assured that you are not lost to her or to your true self. That's the one you have. And this is what I was going to read, but I'll read it anyway. Have fun. This has a more lyrical, happy kind of a feel to it. And, well, I think it's, whatever it is, it's here. It's called Two Cabins, Journal Entries. 1, Kalskag, Alaska, a Yupik village, a Russian log cabin of black spruce kept the rain out, but not mosquitoes. Doorless outhouse, a commanding view of the Kuskokwim River. Looking out over the Bering Sea at 11:45 p.m., hoping as the sun sets, inspiration might strike. What strikes? Mosquito bites. Not one, but many. A mosquito poem, not likely, no matter the exotic locale. And that's September 1982. And the second one, number 2, Misty Mount, Catoctin Mountain Park. This is in western Maryland, thank you. Western Maryland. Cabin 16, a cozy cabin hidden in a deep hardwood forest built of salvaged chestnut logs. Raindrops on a shingle roof of solitude, but not destroying solitude. Drops that fall as syllables and notes of music flowing off the eaves into poetry. 218. Now, thank you. Now, I think before you hop up, are you going to say this? Do I say this? I'm going to ask you for questions and all that kind of stuff, and then I have a final poem to leave with you to kind of close this all out as soon as I remember what I did with it.
Kristen has the mic,
Oh,
and so if someone asks a question, wait for Kristen to get there, because we'd like to get the question. So
yes.
We usually have had the answer, but we didn't get the question.
So folks who are joining us streaming can hear the question.
Yes.
Okay.
So
Yes.
if you would. And,
Well, we already have a question, Tom.
okay.
Can we get it started? What do you think, Carlos? All right, we're all in agreement.
Oh, I do know your name too.
Hi, this is Will. Carlos, I had a question. That poem you read early on about Ireland and the people leaving their homes, you mentioned that they touched something or kissed something on the way.
Doorpost.
Oh, that's what it is,
Yeah.
But what was the name that you called it by?
Oh, no, the one, the Jewish thing is a mezuzah. It's on
Mezuzah.
the right side of the hand.
Ah, okay.
And you kiss it before you go out to make sure you come home safely.
Right, thank you.
And I just reckon that the kind of, the Irish peasant doing that without a mezuzah.
Mhm.
Maybe
Yeah.
they knew something, you know?
Yeah,
Is that kind of the answer?
it is, yeah, great name.
But if not, you just make up your own, okay?
Will do.
I knew it was going to be about Ireland. I almost wore my big sweatshirt that says, no, Ireland, but I thought, yeah.
Well, I've got a question. for
Yes,
you.
sir.
Yeah, well, you have a new book, so I wanted to ask you to talk about how you put it together.
Oh, Jesus. Ask anybody but me. No, I tell you, I really admire people who are organized like that. But what happens, some of my books are simply, I'm writing away and I'm writing poems, and I get to pile up and I put them in a folder, and then I begin to think about a book. So that's my first way of doing it. But it's true that once I decide I'm going to make this into a book, then I might organize it a little bit and add some extras from the earlier time, as opposed to just simply what I've written last week, and the week before that. But not like you'd want somebody. Now, this book is about traveling, I could say that. See. And then I do have a book coming sometime, called What Shelters Us. And it's all about where you might have lived or stayed or spent the night or camped out. So that has kind of a theme. But it's pretty, ask my wife. She'd like me to, do this, but I'm hardcore. I'm old school.
Yeah. So you said you write on the computer, or you got up and you write
Well,
on the computer.
as they say in Ireland, I do and I don't.
Yeah, do you ever,
I write in a journal. Sometimes I just write the date, the temperature, and the barometric pressure, and if it's cloudy or sunny. But sometimes I write a little poem in there. But almost immediately I have to put it on the computer, because despite the fact that in my so many decades, my writing hasn't improved. It's gotten smaller, which means I could fit it into a smaller notebook. But I found out if I don't look at it fairly soon after I've written it down, I can't see what the hell it was I wrote. And sometimes it comes out with interesting stuff, but sometimes it's like, what was this? But I'm trying to get it down, so I'm writing it really fast, and now I'm writing a little tiny writing, but often the end of a word is gone. Was that the question?
Yeah.
Yes, no, I've long since not used a typewriter. It's too easy to type on a computer, but it's also dangerous. This has happened to all of you. I know it's happened to all of you. You write something, and you look at it and you say, geez, I didn't say that. It wants to correct it. It wants to take my name and turn it into Cross. If I'm not fast enough, my name suddenly becomes Cross. Pity the person whose name becomes Cross. But yeah, I mean, it's handy, because you can do, when I used to type on a typewriter, having 10 or 15 versions of a poem is a lot of hard work. Typewriter, I mean, computer, not so much, I kind of don't like the electronic world. I was in a little bistro in Ireland last summer, I think. A little place there, and the little sign that said, we don't have Wi-Fi. Pretend it's 1975. Just talk amongst yourselves.
We have a question
Oh, I'm
right
so
here.
sorry. Yes.
So, Carlos, all these poems about travel,
Yes?
I didn't really get the sense of any kind of lurking homesickness in the tone. And then I had two ideas, if that's true, that your curiosity for each new place would overcome any residual loss, or that perhaps you don't feel that loyal to where you grew up or any one place.
No, but I've got a perfect answer to that question, or that comment. Actually, there are a few places that I think I've forgotten them, but I haven't. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm just wandering around. Ireland is a notable exception. There's a wonderful song called "My Heart Is in Ireland Wherever I Go," and that's Carlos right down to the boots. But I write, and I think I've written it out, and I've dealt with it. But I kind of reckoned it to be like a phantom limb, like you had to have one of your limbs removed. You still think it's there. That's kind of how I feel about Ireland. A place I've been going to for over 50 years. More than 50? Do I hear any more? Probably more like 60. So yeah, I find myself when I was in India, I spent a month in India thanks to the aegis of my wife's employer. I had kind of a residency in Bengaluru, India for a month. And even when I'm writing in India, I'm thinking about Ireland, the thatched roofs on little huts, just like Ireland, it's there. Or being up in this Yupik village in Alaska, going into one of the cabins and seeing the woman there with the picture of John F. Kennedy. And, so it's... Anybody else have a question?
I want to invite any of you that are on the Zoom, if you have a question or a comment, just put it in the chat, and Josh will read it out, if you do. But please feel free to do that. Anyone have any questions or comments for Carlos?
I do.
You do.
Yeah. So your humor comes across pretty clear in and out of your poetry, which I really like. I was wondering, it seems like it's a way that you deal with a lot of different things in life. Humor as a way of coping, as a way of understanding the world. Was it hard for that to translate into your work, into your writing? Some people, I'm funny in person, but if I tried to write and be funny, it would not work.
Oh, I don't try to be funny when I write. I think I try to be funny to kind of rescue the poems. Does that make sense? But, Billy Collins, Mr. Poetry, he's a stand-up comedian. And he said, I heard him say, I quit trying to be a serious poet because I wasn't getting anywhere. As soon as I start making jokes, wonderful. I try to make jokes, and sometimes they're not. Maybe I'm just, the way I try to say it is funny. I didn't know I was doing that, but I think it's important. But I don't think of these things when I'm writing. What I'm writing, I'm involved with, whatever language I'm involved with, and it may or not have to do with anything that you can put your finger on.
And if I can...
You can.
Thank you. So, do you have any particular spiritual connections that you use while you're writing, or that inform your writing or your views?
I try it every once in a while, but I don't think I'm a spiritual person. I don't know what you mean when you say spiritual, but you mean like religion or something?
Well, I think it came to me when the poem about your sister and the hummingbird.
Ah.
It felt rather profound.
Well, I'd like you to ask my sister that, but she's not here, so she couldn't answer. And I think she would laugh. She would laugh her ass off if she said, "You think this poem about you is spiritual?" Nah.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. I don't mean to make fun of your question, but
No, that's okay.
I don't think of myself that way. I'm hardly religious. I mean, you heard the little mezuzah thing? Oh yeah, I'm into that. But for years I used to I still tell people, I'm not religious, but my kids are. Because there come a time I was separated from my kids, and there, I had a little Mogan David and stuff. Oh, jewelry. And then I realized a few years later they were serious about this. So serious, in fact, that now I have a daughter who's a rabbi.
Oh.
And her ne'er-do-well father's, barely a Jew, So
That's incredible. Thank you.
Yeah. So what are you working on now?
poems? No, I don't mean to be a smart ass, but no, I am. some people might say I write too much, but I work at something every day, and you ask about the notebook or the journal. If I get up in the morning and I check out my emails and there's nothing there, and I look in I said, well, I'll see. I write something, I'll go looking through my notebook, and I'll find something that I can get a hold of and start, see if I can fashion a poem out of it. So, I'm writing right now, I might have said this before, kind of poems about shelter. I think I said maybe the title is going to be What Shelters Us. Once again, I try to get a hold of all these places I've lived or stayed or gone or fell asleep in, whatever. I'm trying to write, that's what I'm kind of writing about now. I'm trying to, this sounds also kind of snotty, but fulfill a request of somebody who wants to see this when I get it done. So, wants to see it when I get it done. It being manuscript book or something like that.
Did you want to?
Oh, no!
Earlier, Tom asked about the themes of how you put a manuscript together. And I just wanted to say that you do have some thematic books, like there's a book about Alaska, and
True.
one about France, and one about the pandemic, Lament for Us
Yeah, yeah.
All.
True.
And so there are some books, and of late it's been more so than earlier, that he has done books that are thematic.
And how would you know that?
Thank you.
Who are you to the poet? It's his lovely wife. The editor, yeah.
So thank you.
Yes.
Does anyone have a final question for Carlos before he reads the final poem and ending the event?
I can't find the poem I meant to read, but of course I found a poem. And I have a little poem here about when I was just a wee child, the FBI came to our house, and it just tore it up. It scared my poor mom to death. She couldn't figure out what the hell was going on. And these guys, they went from the basement all the way to the ceiling, tearing pillows apart and just wreaking havoc. Black suits, badges. My father tries to explain it all to my mother. She never understands. Muffled voices in the basement, heavy boots walking over my head as the black suits go through the attic. Without explanation, they take the house apart. Dump drawers, strip beds, empty closets, rip boxes, tear open pillows, and an explosion of down, a spit of snow that covers everything. Cupboard doors left to swing, the family Bible rifled. Like a prairie wind, they come and go, head uptown to my father's shop and pick him up. Forgery, they say. Hot checks. Thank you. Oh,
Okay. Oh, there's it. Thank you so much for being here, sharing you and your work. Let's give Carlos another hand, can we? Yeah. This is great. Yes.
that table over there is collapsing under the weight of books. Think about buying one.
Okay. And
Or two.
see Carlos about books. They're over here. We have some refreshments. They're over here. Please help yourself. Thank you for coming. We have an event coming up Sunday. Scott Siegel is going to be our December reader. So enjoy the rest of the night. Thanks for being here. Yeah.